Hello everybody, welcome back to Rambly Adventures. This is session 12 and 13 of the Hachi campaign. Not a lot happened in these two, and due to restrictions changing back and forth, we just couldn't meet up at the same times we normally would, so here we go. The first thing that happens is the bugbear that was assigned to our group by the leader of the bugbears moves down this pathway. Now remember, in my campaign, bugbears are werebears, but the same stat line, just deal with it. They go down this pathway, and he's trying to see if they're going to keep on following him down a wrong pathway to see if they actually know the area at all. Because if they know the area at all, or have seen any maps of it at all, they might be around here, but they don't pick up on that. He continues forward, realizes these aren't the right people, they're not in the right place, and he says, wait, actually, I forgot something, and has them already down like this really long meandering pathway that's really thin. It's only 5 feet thick. So he runs back and is about to ring a bell when Harvey realizes what's going on and takes a shot with an Eldritch Blast at him. The Eldritch Blast goes wide right after Vorn tries to charm him and be like, "No, it's fine." And he's like, and then he's able to resist it, and the bell rings. Right away, the Werebear boss and the other Werebears who have Bugbear stats charge out and try to catch up, and they kind of pin them in this really awkward thin pathway. Now, Yama, our rogue, has kind of snuck away and gone down the other pathway and kind of holds position and actually trips one of the guys as they go by, causing them to kind of face plant on the ground and go prone. And Vorn is able to entangle the pathway to make it harder for the guys to actually approach them. As they continue fighting, Ritsu's up front, punching and punching and punching as Ritsu is apt to do. But eventually Ritsu just drops. And very fortunately, there's a potion on hand. Ritsu's potioned up and pulled away from combat by the NPC characters that they have along with them. The cramped battle becomes really hard. They're all cramped in this tight corridor, and they're not able to really move as much as they'd like to. So it's really difficult for them to fight. And also, I have it so that if you have two people in a 5 foot space, which is possible, everybody in those 5 foot spaces gets disadvantage, and enemies have advantage on attacking them because they're so cramped. It's hard for you to move, it's hard to dodge or whatever. So, after a little while, the guys are starting to. The battle turns in our heroes' favor. The numbers game, we've got 9 heroes, right? Like with the four player characters and 5 NPCs. The just numbers turn on the werebears, and the bears try to go away. But unfortunately, with the ground being tangled, they're just failing their saves. I'm rolling really low in this fight. I don't know why, but DM dice, and they can't break free even though they've got great strength. But yeah, so over time, they just get worn down and they actually give up. They're like, nope, you know what? We're done with this. We don't want to fight anymore. We work here. We don't need to keep fighting. And they kind of explain that even though they're supposed to be considered like second in command to the Serato Abyss, the big boss of this area, they're still considered really low down on the totem pole. Serato Abyss is really the boss, and everybody else is considered like at the bottom of this pile. And over time, our heroes just kind of bribe them and go, hey, we have a bunch of silver, not gold, because these characters will not take gold. They don't know what to use it for. They don't really use gold as a currency. I thought that was kind of a fun little thing there. Anyway, so our characters are give a bunch of silver to these guys, kind of like almost a year's payment for these guys, because they're making about a silver a week in this kind of economy, and they just give them a bunch right off the bat. And then they go into this kind of the room they were supposed to go into. It's kind of off the side path here, and it's a classic D&D annoying puzzle that you're supposed to try to figure out, which has rungs that go up and up and up into this chest that's upside down on the ceiling. And apparently it's supposed to have an anti-gravity spell on it, and it's all these rungs are the third from each side is trapped. So Yama passes a really high perception check to see the trapped ones, and it's like, well, that's easy enough for them to dodge, and actually ties themselves off to each rung as they're going. So even if they do fall, they just kind of swing, right? So actually, Yama kind of completely negates it, and then goes to touch the chest. Now, I thought that the anti-gravity chest was a brilliant thing, but I changed it a little bit. I made it so that anything touching the anti-gravity chest through a conduit is instantly has that spell on them too. So when Yama reaches out and grabs the chest, Yama falls onto their head onto the ceiling. Boom! And then lets go of the chest, and then it falls. Unfortunately, is tied off, so just swings and goes, "What the heck was that?" And then tries to get back up to it, and almost the same thing happens again. And they actually have to end up tying this thing and pulling it down all of these rungs down to the floor. Now, they didn't realize at this point that if someone grabs it now, they're going to fall up to the ceiling. And the rope that they have is also hanging because it's a conduit and it's hanging towards the ceiling. So everything that has touching this it's a really strange and kind of fun thing. We have at one point they have Slig, who is their one of their sappers. So he's a combat engineer. His job is to open doors and break things. So he goes, "Oh, I can open this, no problem. That's fine, right?" Walks up to it, starts opening it, and the second his chisel hits it, he falls upward, and he's falling vertically, and he's still holding on to it. And then somebody else grabs him. It's my friend Ben. He's playing Harvey. He goes, "No, just grab him!" And then the person who grabs him also starts falling upwards, and then they both let go of the chest, and then Slade hits the ground, and then Morn, who's this huge armored dude, falls on top of him, and just does damage to this poor little guy. And eventually they're able to open it, and they get a bunch of cash and a key, which actually opens the door that they're at. Right down the hall, there's another door. Now, I thought this is definitely like the age of this campaign where they put a door right behind a door. I thought that was kind of a cheeky little move where it was like, "Oh, come on, guys, you don't need to put a door right after we opened one." And so I might be playing this slightly wrong. Sorry to anybody who's actually played this campaign, but yeah, I was a little frustrated with that. Fortunately, they have two guys who don't have any combat effectiveness, combat engineers, who literally can just go, "Oh, we'll just wedge your door open and just blow it open," more or less. So they just hammer wedges into it and then just pry the door off its hinges by breaking its lock. So they get through there. Now that's they move up towards with the forge. Now the forge is a large pillar-shaped room, right? So it's I guess it's inverse pillars. It's a cylindrical room, and there's two people chained to the anvil. Now these two people are the two crawls from earlier that they let go to the Cerrado Abyss to become slaves. So here we are. There they are, kind of full circle here. And they're chained here to that thing, and up in the ceiling there's a bunch of villainous types all kind of standing up top, and they watch our characters enter, and they more or less go, "Hey, you're from the Cerrado Abyss, we hate you guys," and they start kind of throwing rocks and insults at them. Now our characters don't know, but at this point they'd find out later, but the mountain crawls and the Cerrado Abyss have a kind of a fan rivalry, like kind of like they throw rocks at each other and insults, but they don't fight to the death. It's supposed to be kind of a barroom brawl thing. So they walk in, and the first thing that one of our characters does, our Drebside, who's an NPC, he sprays the room with gasoline. Kind of just goes, "Okay, if we're going to die here, then everybody's going to die. So if we start a fight here, it's going to get ugly." And then everybody goes, "Oh, okay." So, and that's the end of the session, more or less. Like, the room is now stinks of gasoline. Very fortunately, the next session starts with that fight, and we have a new player who will be introduced in a minute. But the fight starts, and right away Ritsu just comes up and starts punching these guys. So the few of them have dropped to the ground to fight, and Ritsu's just in there punching and punching and punching, and Yama's shooting a few and then breaks their bow again. Vorn fixes it eventually, but it's just kind of annoying. And one of the characters that is chained to this anvil looks up and kind of looks around at the situation and starts speaking into the mind using a message spell of one of their captors, and kind of more or less says, "Break me free of this chains." And because of the already stressful situation, the character fails his mental save. It wasn't really a save. It was more like is he creeped out enough to do this thing? Now, obviously our hero would have tried this earlier, but he was unable to really break through kind of the mental barriers that these guys have up. So he's like, finally he's able to like, ha, now you're stressed out, and gets the guy to release him because the guy's like so freaked out. And it turns out that this new character is named Vessel. He's one of the two slaves. He is played by one of my friends, and he is a vessel for something called the Quiet, which we don't know much about, but we've heard the name yet, or so far. That's all we really know, that there's something, the Quiet, that is a vessel, or he is the vessel for it. So Vorn right away doesn't like this. And everybody just starts, it's a brawl, right? Everybody starts fighting. And our characters just start shooting dudes. And the guys in this fight, the mountain dudes, aren't really ready for that. They're kind of like, wait, we're killing each other? Like, because they're expecting the Cerrado Abyss guys to kind of throw back insults and rocks, not be aiming to kill one another. So, yeah, eventually they're trying to more or less get away, and our heroes just wipe them all out. And they take a few things from the forge, tools and the like, get out of the room, and then they light it up and blow it up. So that room is gone. Now they're dragging along another hero and an NPC. Now this NPC is currently just gone. There's nothing really left in their brain. They've been just too beaten down, and that like they've had too much happen to them, so they're not really able to function properly. Very sad. But they are being pulled along so they don't, have to try to wander back through all the other crap that these guys have gone through. So they continue forward, and then there is a bridge. Now, this bridge has two large Komodo dragons chained to poles on the sides, right, ready to tear anybody apart if they try to go across this bridge. And it's like an Indiana Jones bridge, right? Like we're talking like drop a few big rocks on this, it will break and come loose, and then everybody will die. I think the module called for 20d6 damage if he fell, which, most people won't survive at level 4. So they discuss, and they're like, how are we going to get across this thing? But very fortunately, Vessel and Vorn, who hate each other, which I think is hilarious because one of them is very like lawful good, kind, and like by the books, but very on the side of right. Not lawful stupid, like lawful good, like actually wants to do right and Vessel is chaotic evil, we think. And they both go up, and Vessel speaks into one of the minds of the guys who are waiting in ambush at this bridge. And the guy kind of looks around the corner and goes, excuse me? Like, looks down. He doesn't really know what's going on. Like, what the heck was that? And then Vorn immediately goes, oh, hey, how's it going? And kind of totally diffuses the situation. Kind of, it's a carrot and stick thing, right? The guy thinks it's going to get really, really bad, and then it turns out, well, actually, this guy seems kind of nice, and he's willing to pay us. So they pay their way through this again, and it seems like our heroes are willing to drop the silver, which, by the way, they got a ton out of that chest. So they're willing to drop the silver to get through these things without having to do a lot of damage to the locals, which, I mean, is, admirable. I like that. So they do that. They give a bit of the silver to these guys. It's not much, but it's more than these guys would have been paid anyway. And it also more or less gets them to kind of just turn a blind eye. Like, we don't know who you are. We don't know why you're here. But they assume they're kind of just another faction of the Cerrado Abyss, right? They're wearing Cerrado Abyss colors, and yeah, they've got some weirdos with them, but they just assume, hey, we don't know who you are. They're not assuming it's an invading army. They're assuming they're some guys trying to come in after they were drunk or did something stupid, right? So they don't really know what they're about to let in here, but we'll find out later how that goes. So they get by there unscathed, which made me really happy, and then they go up to they find themselves go up to a door, and there's just a door that they find, and they kind of peek around the door, and it turns out that they're right behind a play. There's a large amphitheater here, and there's a large red carpet pulled, and there's a bunch of people running around with hats and wigs and outfits, and they're like, what's going on here? And they slowly figure out that there is a bunch of guys from a different country here advertising weapons to be sold to these guys to fight off the invading Hachi clan, the guys that where our heroes are part of. So there's a third party here. Um, Gold and Argent Riflery is trying to sell guns to the Cerrado Abyss to fight off the Hachi clan. And they're from like a completely different continent. They're here as kind of like just to weaken the power of the people back on our continent, or the continent that we're, so like it's a very strange situation, and they're putting on this big play as kind of a, as kind of a, hey, buy our weapons, they're cool. And the play's nearly over, and our heroes kind of sneak in and start stealing stuff. And one of our heroes, uh, Mr. Vessel, tries to steal the paper, um, the stage play from the stage manager. And he uses sleight of hand, and he tries to use a mage hand at sleight of hand and pull it to him. And he's not able to. The guy just kind of, what the heck? He's being pulled, and he can't really see what's going on. And he's just confused, and he's like, man, maybe I'm getting stressed out. And in the meantime, our Mr. Harvey, our emissary from Ewan and Two Sons Tea Company, has cast Comprehend Languages on himself, and he runs out there, and he's like, you are no longer the stage manager. I'm the stage manager. Management's not happy with your running style. You're not good enough for this. Like, you're not ready. You're not ready for this position. You're clearly doing a bad job. And totally bluffs his way. I think he rolled like a 28 on deception. And he's like, yeah, you're out. I'm in. And they steal a bunch of clothing. They put a bunch of different, they put all of our heroes into different outfits. Yama is playing the part of the main attacking character. And Vessel actually by the way, main attacking character means the Hachi clan leader, Mr. Zhao Fei of Wakanachi Zhao Fei of the Hachi clan. So she's wearing this big ornate helmet, which is supposed to look like his, as best as Vura can do. And then the enemy, or the good guy in this case, it's weird. The Vura clan guy, or as I should say, the Gold and Argent employee, is being played by Vessel. And Vessel goes out there and delivers a completely flat speech about the effectiveness of these weapons, after Yama has come out and because Yama doesn't speak the language, Yama just raps the first few lines of Eminem's "Lose Yourself," and just goes out there front flipping, and and the crowd just boos and throws tomatoes at them. And then they all turn sideways and fire these fake guns at the Hachi clan guys, and they all fall down pretending to be dead. And Ritsu, who is playing a character that looks a lot like Ritsu, because apparently their name is starting to get out there, pretends to go down and puts the mug on their chest facing up because they don't want to spill their precious bean juice, which, by the way, I might not have done a good job of establishing this, but Ritsu needs coffee and has found a way to continue getting coffee by harvesting it from nearby bushes and the like, bushes, and constantly has a mug with a bit of coffee in it, and is constantly slurping it down to try to keep himself, calm. And yeah, so after they lay down, the play kind of starts wrapping up, and as these weapons are fired, they Vessel uses control flame to light the stage on fire, and the crowd's all like, "Yay! We win! This is great!" And then the stage is on fire, and then it starts getting out of hand, and Vessel's holding these two fake pistols and crosses them like it is on the logo, but everything's still on fire, and it's like, we all got to get out of here. And then the stage manager, played by Harvey at this point, runs out and goes, "Everybody run, we got to get out of here." And everybody, this huge panic, and then everybody runs out of this area, and it's this huge kerfuffle. Nobody knows what's going on. And as they're running through the crowd, they realize the crowd all have strange yuan ti, I'll use that term, kind of things going on with them. Like, some of them have like a dragon's tail, some of them have 4 pairs of arms, and in Crawlish lore, yuan ti are crawls that have been too close to dragons for a long period of time. That's kind of, you get what's like kind of like a dragon curse. Anyway, that was the whole thing. They ran out into the crowd. We're going to see how they can find, if they can find each other after this whole mess. And they have finally made it into the city. Now things get real. There's a lot of stuff to do in the city. I'm very excited for the next session. It's in 2 weeks' time. I'm going to try to upload right after that session. It's just it wasn't too much that happened in these two, because when you start actually playing real D&D stuff, there's just way more questions and stuff being asked. It's not as, off the cuff. So yeah, thanks guys for watching if you're still with me, and if you're not, well, too bad. Anyway, next time in Yule, have yourselves an excellent evening. Take her easy. Bye. And